Right, welcome everyone to the Find Your Fit in Information Technology at UTS webinar session. So it's 6 p.m. now, so I'll start right on the dot so we can get questions in right at the end because I'm sure we have quite a few. So I'm Pat, I'm the MC for today. Um, Today we're obviously exploring the exciting world of information technology, about how UTS can help you build a future-ready career. And we're obviously going to be exploring quite a lot about all the different information technology courses that are available at UTS, including things like admissions information, scholarship information, and all of that really important info. So this is a webinar that's really great for parents, guardians, students, those who will be leaving school soon, those who might be very close to finishing their school, or even gap year students, and for those who basically have a passion about AI, cybersecurity, games, business systems, IT, and things like that. So I hope you enjoy. Before we get started, I just wanted to do an acknowledgement of country. So just wanted to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, upon whose ancestral lands our city campus now stands. I pay respect to elders past and present and acknowledge them as the traditional custodians of this lands. Now, just a quick note that we are recording this session. Of course, we're only recording the audio and the screen share, so this PowerPoint presentation. We're not going to be recording any video or audio input from yourselves as the guests. So we usually just record because at the end we like to send this recording over to everyone who attended, just so you can have this information handy and watch it whenever you need to. Obviously, if you have any questions about this, please email the email address that's marked down in blue at the bottom. Otherwise, you can also just email our FEIT inbox and we can pass on any queries about that to the marketing team. Right, so we are actually quite lucky today. We have three speakers in total. So first, our speaker, Dr. Luke Matheson, who is the Deputy Head of School, will be speaking about all of our IT courses. Obviously, there's quite a lot to go through when it comes to the IT courses, so it will have to be a very brief overview over these, but we hope you get enough information that can help fuel your decision making, particularly for those of you who are, in that HSC time period. We'll also have a alumni speaker, so Charo, who has completed a Bachelor of Science in IT and a Bachelor of Creative Intelligence and Innovation at UTS, and is now currently working as a senior platform engineer at Combank. And a current student speaker, Francesca. So third year student, so very close to finishing her degree. And she's currently working on her Bachelor of Information Technology and her Bachelor of Creative Intelligence and Innovation. So obviously a lot of people that you can ask a wide variety of questions from. So I will now go through basically what this whole webinar will be about. Like I mentioned, we'll be starting off with the IT courses that are available. We're going to talk a little bit about IT across boundaries, so how it differs and how multidisciplinary IT can be. And we'll hear from our current student, followed by our alumni who's working at Combank, and then, of course, all the nitty-gritty information about admission pathways and entry schemes. Right at the end, we'll also have time for Q&A. So please, if you've got questions, you can definitely pop them in the chat now, but you can also just save them right to the end and we'll get to them as one big group. So I'll now like to pass on to Dr. Luke, who's going to start talking about all of our lovely courses.
So hopefully I've shared the correct slide there. As said, I'm Dr. Luke Matheson. I'm the Deputy Head of School Teaching and Learning here at UTS in the School of Computer Science. I'm also happen to be the course director for the Bachelor of Information Technology, which used to be called the Bachelor of Science in Information Technology. And I have fingers in a lot of pies about the teaching and learning here in the Computer Science School. As Patricia said, there's a reasonable amount to go through here. So I'll be fairly light on the detail on some of these, but of course, if you've got any questions, throw them in the Q&A and we'll answer those as best we can at the end. And don't forget that there's plenty of information available on the UTS website, particularly through the Find a Course and the UTS Handbook if you want more detail too. So, as said, we have quite a number of courses that fall under the broad umbrella of IT here at UTS. A lot of these are closely interrelated, and they fall into two basic groups. There are some general degrees, and there are some specialist degrees. So we've got them in just alphabetical order here. There's no particular ranking, so I'll give you a bit of an introduction to each one and what they're aimed at and why we have them. So the first one, because it begins with an A, is one of our specialist degrees, is the Bachelor of Artificial Intelligence, 3 years full time. It's a degree that, as the name suggests, is focused around artificial intelligence. So with all of our degrees, they're built around what we call the IT core. So that gives you a solid foundation across all disciplines of IT. And then from that IT core, you build out in various different directions, depending on what the degree is. In this particular one, of course, it's all about artificial intelligence. So you do that IT core, which is actually mentioned on the slide there. Then you have an artificial intelligence core. So you do a whole heap of stuff about AI, where it starts, where it goes to, what the future of AI is, taking you all the way up to the edge of current research. And then you have a variety of electives, so you can choose a bit of where you want to go. Plus, you can choose a sub-major, potentially even more in IT if you really want to, but to cross-specialize perhaps a little bit. Of course, I'm sure you're all familiar with the term artificial intelligence and aware that it is becoming a very big thing in computing. But really, that's just the public face of it. It has been a huge thing for a long time, and artificial intelligence covers a wide variety of computational techniques for solving problems. I'll try and keep things that short for all of them, but I'm also very good at rambling, so someone shout at me if I take too long on any of these. The next degree is the Bachelor of Computing Science. This is, again, a 3-year full-time degree. Like most undergraduate degrees in Australia are 3 or 4 years full-time. Next year will be the first year we're offering this particular 3-year version of the Bachelor of Computing Science. And it's one of our more general degrees, but its focus is really about the fundamentals of how a computer works as a tool for solving computational problems. So in it, you will do, again, the IT core, but you'll also cover a lot of the mathematics, algorithmics, complexity theory about why computers can do what they do and how, as a computer scientist, to make them do that. You also choose a submajor, at least one submajor. That gives you a focus on a particular area, which can, well, I'll get to the majors and submajors in a little bit, but it includes a wide variety of possibilities there. And then depending on your inclination, there's room to pick another submajor or some electives. Accompanying the 3-year Bachelor of Computing Science is our 4-year flagship Bachelor of Computing Science degree with an embedded honours program. So it's a 4-year full-time degree where you're heading towards doing a large research project at the end over the final year of your studies. So it includes essentially the same basis as the 3-year computing science degree. So you still do the IT core, you still do all the maths and theory, the algorithms, the data structures, the computational complexity, all that stuff that I think is super fun and super cool. You may not know those words, but if you're into programming and you're into computers, it is. You'll pick a full major on top of that. So you do a specialization in one of the areas that, again, I will come to shortly. And then on top of that, you do an honors project. So with most of the other, in fact, all of the other degrees I'm going to talk about today, you can do an honors project, but it's an additional year at the end. What the 4-year Bachelor of Computing Science honors program allows us to do is, because we know you're heading towards doing an honors project at the end, we can build in specific research training throughout the degree. So you want to go into that more complicated, more cutting edge area of computer science, maybe industry, maybe academia. You want to head towards that research kind of thing. Maybe you're dreaming of a PhD already. But it allows us to prepare you better for that, because it's not a decision that you're making at the end of the degree. You're beginning, right at the start, going, I know that's where I'm heading, and I want to gain those skills. That research training, of course, like I suggested, is not only applicable to academia. It's really about how do you take a problem that is completely brand new, a deep knowledge of existing techniques, and construct a new solution for that problem. Of course, the trade-off is that this becomes a 4-year full-time degree. Next one is our Bachelor of Cybersecurity. So it's another one of our specialist degrees, as the name suggests, focusing around cybersecurity. And just like artificial intelligence, this should be an area that you're probably all reasonably familiar with, well, at least with its existence these days. Cybersecurity is becoming an increasingly important area of IT. We have so much of our data online. Almost all of everything we do every day involves a computer system somehow. We do all our banking there. We store all our government data there. We purchase things online. So there's credit card data, all that kind of stuff. And securing and guarding that data is a critical component of modern IT infrastructure. I might argue it was a critical component 30 or 40 years ago as well, but now people are actually starting to take notice. And oh, sorry, apparently my screen share is not working so well. There we go. So let me just, okay. Apologies. Patricia, would you be able to share on the cybersecurity slide there?
Can do.
Yes, so cybersecurity, increasingly important and a huge area of growth in the industry. A massive number of cybersecurity specialists are being sought after these days. It's also a 3-year full-time program. It, again, like all of our programs, builds on the IT core, so you're not a one-trick pony, so to speak. You have that foundation across all the basic disciplines in IT. And then on that, you build in specific training in deep cybersecurity knowledge, a range of options in cybersecurity, and then a little bit of flexibility in the submajor or electives that you do. Our next specialist degree is the Bachelor of Games Development. Again, 3 years full-time. This is one that is slightly different in structure to the other ones, but again, as the name suggests, this is all about games development. So a massive industry, the biggest entertainment industry in the world. Trillions upon trillions of dollars flows through the games development industry every year. And this degree focuses on how to be a games developer. So there's 2 components to that industry. There's games design and games development. This degree focuses on the development side, but does include some of the design components as well. So it builds up from being a programmer, a 3D artist, a little bit of modeling, animation, a little bit of audio production. It has links to our audio design degree in the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, Faculty of Design and Society now. They've changed their name. But it is very much a development first focused degree. It teaches you how to actually build these games. So to go from concept through implementation to deployment. So that software development is the main thing. That said, it still builds on our core IT core. So you get that broad base. You then spend a huge amount of time doing games development, a lot of studios, a lot of working in teams, a lot of fun stuff. And then again, the flexibility with the submajor or electives at the end. So you get to pick a bit of flavor to take the degree in the direction you want to go to. Interestingly, so we have quite a number of graduates in this program. And one of the big questions we get asked about this is, well, will I get a job out of it? Because the games industry is a strange thing. And if there's lots of toing and froing in it. We've had both a large number of graduates who've gone directly into the games industry. Some have founded their own studios, some have moved overseas, some have stayed in Australia and worked in the games industry. But it's also a really popular degree for a surprising number of places, including things like banks and financial institutions, because it involves a lot of human-computer interaction. So those interaction design skills are highly sought after as well. How do you build something that people can actually use in an engaging and interesting way? And that's where gamification comes in. There's also a good deal of research about the serious use or the use of serious games in things like health and well-being and stuff like that. I'm watching my screen share now to see if it's updating properly. Okay, seems good. Okay, so the next one is the Bachelor of Information Systems. Again, another one of our specialist degrees. This focuses on the area of information systems, a term which is possibly not all that well known outside of industry. But information systems are about the business and human side of computing systems. So it's all well and good having a bunch of programmers who can produce a system and who can build some software that does something. But if it doesn't serve a purpose that someone actually needs it for, it's not particularly useful. So information systems is all about how do I go from the business needs, broadly interpreted. It can be industry, it can be non-profit, it can be nothing to do with a money-making organization at all if you really want. But how do I take those needs, express them, figure out whether they are amenable to a computational solution, express them in a way that a development team can take that, produce a solution, and then bring it back to the business and make sure it's implemented correctly so that it actually does what the business needs it to do. So the other way of thinking about that is it's all about how do IT systems work and fit into a business context. It has, as you can see there, it has a slightly different structure, still again, 3 years full-time. It has an information systems core, which is essentially our information technology core with a couple of other subjects. There's a couple more preparatory subjects that they have in there. And then a development of those skills in the innovation and enterprise systems core. Then some choices and some electives, as you've seen with the other degrees, but it has that real focus on information systems. And last but not least is the Bachelor of Information Technology. So this is the one I'm the course director of. It's a 3-year full-time, again, same as all the other ones, except for the 4-year one. And it's our main flexible all-rounder degree. So it's the one that has the greatest amount of flexibility in what you do. So its core structure, again, the IT core, everyone does the IT core. It gives you that strong base. It allows you to branch out in lots of different ways. But then you get full choice over what you do in your major, and then a whole other third of the degree. And you can use those options to do a second major if you want. So this is a degree that allows you to do a double specialization. Most of the other degrees do not have room for that. Or you can split it up into doing multiple sub-majors. So you can have a full specialization and 2 half specializations, or you can use that whole third of a degree to study something completely different. So this degree is the one that allows you the most flexibility to choose your own path through your university studies. There is also a specialized version of the Bachelor of Information Technology. This is the Bachelor of Information Technology Co-op. Also a 3-year full-time degree. And it is focused around industry engagement for people who are heading towards being team leaders in industry, essentially. It's a scholarship program. It's a competitive entry program. There are special entry structures for this, which you can find out more details on the UTS website, of course. It includes, as part of the degree, 2 6-month industry placements. So you spend your first semester at university, then you go out for another semester and work in industry with one of our industry partners. in whatever role that they're offering at the time, but obviously related to IT in some form. Then you come back, you do some more study. Then in your third year, you go out again and work at an industry partner, usually a different one. Sometimes it's the same one, not necessarily, and then come back and finish off your degree. This is an incredibly sought after degree. It's very popular in the industry. Our graduates from this have huge success, but it's also very competitive to get into. So if you're interested in pursuing that kind of leadership role, especially one at the interface of the IT side and the business side, definitely have a look at the Bachelor of Information Technology co-op. And last in this long list of degree, which is now, I'm sure you've remembered absolutely everything I said. Don't forget, of course, the slides for this will be going out, so you can watch this recording later and slow it down a bit. Is the Diploma in Industry Practice. So this is not a standalone degree. This is an add-on program to all of our programs. So in light of the Bachelor of Information Technology co-op, it's not particularly relevant there, but for all of the other degrees, this is an add-on program. It adds an extra year to your degree where you do a range of workplace-related training and study. So it involves 2 6-month internships where you go out to industry and you work for 6 months and do something interesting and useful. But at the same time, you surround that with some reflective study, which allows you to get the most out of that experience. So you're not just going out and getting the coffee and filling the printer with paper or anything like that. You're thinking about what you're doing out there, how your university study relates to it, and how that relates to your university study, and really squeezing the most juice out of both of those things. Right, so that's the first big list of things. Let me take a small drink. As I mentioned in a few of those, so particularly the Bachelor of Information Technology, the Bachelor of Computing Science, and the Bachelor of Computing Science Honours, you have the opportunity to pick a major or a sub-major. So this next set of slides is the set of majors that we offer across those courses. Some of these are only offered in the Bachelor of Computing Science degrees because they require the mathematics foundation, but these are generally available in all of the degrees. So the first one off the list there, again, alphabetical order, no particular preference, is the Artificial Intelligence and Data Analytics major. It, as the name suggests, covers artificial intelligence and data analytics. So the Bachelor of Artificial Intelligence is, in some sense, the Bachelor of IT, where you've pre-selected this major, and you're not only going to do the major, you're going to do all of the options out of the major as well. So if you're doing the Bachelor of IT and wanted to get a specialization, this is the major you pick. So artificial intelligence and data analytics are, strictly speaking, two different areas. Artificial intelligence is about how do you get computers to, in some sense, intelligently solve problems. And data analytics is, I've got a huge pile of data. How do I extract information out of that? How do I present that back to humans? These do have a good degree of overlap, which is why we have them together in a single major, but you can kind of pick two substreams in both of those. The next one is the Business Information Systems Management major. It is closely related with our Bachelor of Information Systems degree, so you can see our specialist degrees are extensions of these majors. And like I said, with the Bachelor of Information Systems, it focuses around the interface between business requirements and IT systems, and how do you make that actually function in a useful, efficient, cost-effective way. Cybersecurity and privacy, and a little further down the list, networking and cybersecurity are our two privacy majors. Our two cybersecurity majors. They cover two ends of the spectrum of cybersecurity. So if you think of cybersecurity as an issue that ranges all the way from the hardware through to the user, the networking and cybersecurity starts at the hardware end. How do I secure my physical networks? And goes through towards the human end. The cybersecurity and privacy major starts at the human end. How do I encrypt data and ensure user privacy? And then heads towards the hardware end. So the spectrum is too big to fit in one major, and well, too big for everyone to do all of it. So we've split it into two bits, which have a quite large overlap in the middle, but you get a little bit at each end where you have a deeper specialization. We also have a separate purely data analytics major. So the artificial intelligence and data analytics major requires a certain level of maths. The data analytics major is a bit broader and allows more access if you don't have that mathematics background or you don't have room to do the mathematics and things like that. So a lot of this is allowing a degree of flexibility in your choice. We also have the classic enterprise software development. This is your straight out, how do I build a piece of software major? It's a reason a lot of people get into computing to begin with. So it covers everything from programming, so everyone in any of these degrees will learn at least some programming, of course. Enterprise software development is the major that takes that further. So you learn how to program, you learn a bit more how to program, but more importantly, you learn how do I take those programming skills and deploy them in a industry setting so that I work from the specification, build a piece of software, and deliver it on time, on budget, and actually functional, doing what it's meant to do. So you can think of this, if you want to relate this to the business information systems produces the requirements and the understanding what the business wants. They give it to the enterprise software development people who then do all the technical work to build the thing. And then they give it back to the information systems people to say, hey, here's the thing that you asked for. Please check that it's correct. We also have a major in interaction design. So that's about how do computers as tools interact with humans. So how do I make the thing that is sitting in front of us all at the moment actually easy to work with, or perhaps excitingly maybe actually fun to work with? I know a lot of web designers and app designers don't agree that things should be fun to work with, but we think that they should be as well. And how do we make those interactions effective, meaningful, understandable, even intuitive? That's what interaction design is all about: user interface and user experience. And last, because it begins with a Q, is the quantum computing major. So this is one of our extreme cutting edge majors that goes through the theory and mechanics of quantum computing. This is very much cutting edge research. We are the only, at the time of me saying this, we are the only university in Australia that offers quantum computing as an undergraduate major. So there are some degrees which do a little bit of quantum hardware. We're the only one that does the full quantum computing stack, like actually for building towards the future of how do we develop software for quantum computers. So you may know quantum computers are an upcoming technology. We have a few relatively primitive ones, but we're just on that cusp of starting to see these things become a real, if expensive at the moment, but a real industrial possibility. So IBM, Google, Amazon are all selling quantum computing time at the moment. That, again, relatively high prices for now, but they are a real component of the future of computing. This is also one of the majors that definitely heads towards a research direction. So it's one of the three there that are only available in the Bachelor of Computing Science honours because you are required to do the maths. You can also do a sub-major in quantum computing in the Bachelor of Computing Science. So it requires a bit of maths to do it. So just lastly, well, almost lastly, I don't know, a couple more things. Sorry. One thing to keep in mind in all of these is not to think of these as individual islands of knowledge that sit by themselves. And if you go and do the Bachelor of Cybersecurity, you will only ever do cybersecurity and never touch anything else ever again. IT systems are large and complicated and deeply interrelated. Cybersecurity doesn't exist without computers that do something useful with data. That probably needs to be analyzed, that needs to be understood, that needs to be gathered in the first place. So all of these disciplines interrelate to each other. So we've got information systems people designing what the requirements are, cybersecurity people making sure that they are safe, data analytics people turning that raw data into useful information. Enterprise software developers actually building the software systems that do these things. Quantum computing people figuring out how they're going to work on some crazy new technology in the future. At UTS, we take that view to heart. So none of these things exist without any of the others. So as you'll have noticed, when I was going through all the degrees, I was emphasizing that all of our degrees are built on the IT core. So everyone gets a little taste, at least, of a good component of all of those majors. You get at least a hint of what those things are so that you know how these things all fit together, how to develop skills in each of those areas, and how future paths might interact. So when you go out into industry, it's also a mistake to think, well, I've done a Bachelor of Artificial Intelligence, I'm only ever going to do artificial intelligence, because it doesn't exist in a vacuum. Right? Artificial intelligence as a tool is a thing that you can use to solve problems. And you need to be able to understand those problems. You need to be able to communicate with people in other fields. So at UTS, we offer real interdisciplinary, industry-related, genuine work and projects and course material that allows you to build that flexibility into your degree and your future life in industry or wherever it is that you go after it, even if it's not IT. So as part of that flexibility, you can also combine your information technology degree, or at least some of them, with a variety of other UTS degrees. So both of our next two speakers are doing combined programs with the Bachelor of Creative Intelligence and Innovation. Like I said, the Bachelor of IT is our most flexible one, so it's most amenable to combining with other things. So if you're looking for an even more bespoke path through your IT program, you can combine the Bachelor of IT with the Bachelor of Business, the Bachelor of Creative Intelligence and Innovation, Sustainability Environment. Like I said, you can add the Diploma of Industry Practice to all of them. Information Systems also works well with the business degree. And the Bachelor of Cybersecurity has a close link to the Bachelor of Criminology. So if you're heading towards that sort of forensic legal system, there's a lot of possibilities open there. So nearly last thing I'll say, one thing that we do want to bring up, because it's closing particularly soon, so you'll want to get on top of this if this is interesting. We do have a Dean's Scholarship available. It is given to top achieving high school students applying to our FEIT degrees. $30,000 over 2 years, which is not an inconsiderable amount of money, especially coming out of high school. I won't go into much detail here, but note, of course, the QR code is there. So if this has piqued your interest, scan the QR code and go and fill out the application. Okay, that's probably enough of me talking now. So I'm going to hand it over to Francesca to talk about her experience here at UTS.
So, hi everyone. My name is Francesca and I'm a third year student here at UTS. And I'm so excited to speak to everyone today about my experience and why I decided to study here. So, just for context, I do a Bachelor of Information Technology and a Bachelor of Creative Intelligence and Innovation, in which I major in interaction design and I sub-major in networking and cybersecurity. So, for me, coming in from high school, I kind of knew that I had a passion to go into the tech space, but I didn't necessarily know what I specifically wanted to delve into. So I applied to UTS via early entry. And one of the reasons why I was so interested to study at UTS was because I really gravitated towards the variety of major options that they had, which, spanned from business and design and cybersecurity, data analytics, iOS, and a lot more. Funny enough, I actually enrolled in my degree with networking and cybersecurity as my main major. But in my first year, I really got to explore all the fundamental subjects of IT. And through picking a subject within the interaction design major as an elective, I found that user experience and user interaction really opened my interest in finding ways to innovate through digital interaction and technology. So I actually changed my major to interaction design. So within your first year, you'll really get an idea of what you can expect and what you prefer. Next slide. So through my course, I've had the opportunity to learn a variety of different applications and softwares, including AWS, VMware, Visual Studio Code, processing, Figma, and a lot more, as you can see on the screen. I've also learned to use Arduino kits and Raspberry Pi as well. So on the screen, you can see one of my assignments where we were tasked to develop a software that would record live interaction inputs and then basically transfer this data into a dynamic graphic, visual, or auditory media form. So my design basically stores Morse code conversations so that the user has the ability to either import Morse code or text, and then it's pretty much converted. To create this, we learnt to code using JavaScript as the main programming language. The next slide. Thank you. And then on this screen, you'll see one of my other assignments just on the left, where we were tasked to design and develop a car rental website and deploy it on AWS's cloud platform to be accessed remotely. So this website was actually created using a variety of different coding languages, including JSON, XML, SQL, and Ajax. So overall, you really have the opportunity to explore a wide range of coding languages, regardless of your major. I've also had the experience working with different industry partners, such as Accenture, which is just on the right, which basically specialize in information technology services and management consulting. And we were basically tasked to innovate solutions on how we can use AI to support small to medium businesses. Just to close off, will say probably a piece of advice I wish someone told me in my first year was to really get involved at UTS events and societies because these are really incredible ways to build your connections with others within different year groups. But that pretty much sums me up. I'll now pass to Chara to talk about her experience.
Thanks, Francesca. Hello, everyone. My name's Charo, and I'm currently a senior platform engineer at CVA. And I previously studied at UTS with a Bachelor of IT and BCII, as the same as Francesca. And so, in the next slide, please, Patricia. Thanks, Pat. So let me tell you a bit about my story. I didn't have the most traditional path compared to most IT people these days. I actually had my first attempt at uni with a medical science and civil engineering degree. So I kind of went down the track of thinking, yeah, I'll do something cool, mix of medical science and civil engineering. Maybe I'll build a robotic arm or something fancy like that. And then I went a year into that and I kind of felt that it wasn't working for me. Not just that, but uni as well. So I kind of had to stop and think, do I want to continue onto this path or try something else? And so in the next slide, I hit a fork in the road, trying to see if I want to do more uni or do something else. And that ended up actually doing a gap year. So in the gap year, I was just working the whole time. Highly recommend getting a job as soon as possible. You learn a lot of people skills and upskilling and things like that. It really helps with how you communicate with others and seeing what it's like to work in the real world. And so in the next slide, I actually decided to study again after my year. And I picked IT because I heard a lot of great things. One thing is the salary, there's good money in IT, so I wouldn't have to worry about that. And also the thing about constantly learning and solving problems. I'm a big thing for puzzles and trying to figure things out. So I studied a degree in IT and I started out as a student there. And I actually was lucky enough to get a customer support role at UTS. So I was helping out the lecturers, fixing the computers and the equipment. And I did a bit of scripting as well. So that was my first taste of what it was like in the corporate work. And so in the next slide, please. So then, as you know, in IT, there's a lot of coding involved, and I had no technical experience at all. So I kind of got thrown into the deep end, and I was kind of fumbling my way around, trying to figure out how things worked. But UTS provided a lot of great classes. I remember there was one of them was programming fundamentals. That was a pretty good subject. It was probably the only subject or the first subject that I got 100% in. So I think that one's pretty easy. So that gave me a bit of a confidence boost, thinking, yeah, I can do IT, this will be fun. And there was also web design. I think that was one of my favorites too, because I'm a sort of creative person and I had a lot of fun creating my own website. And so I continued, had more confidence in this uni thing, and I thought I'd be able to complete my degree there and find a nice job in IT. And so one thing to note though is working in IT is definitely challenging. Not only do you have to deal with technology, but you also have to deal with people and processes, and that's something that I learned working at a bank. There's a lot of processes, long processes that you have to tire through, and also all the problems that you face. You have to be the type of person that doesn't give up easily and also has, critical mindset or good pattern recognition, trying to figure out how to solve the problem. So having that raw will to find the solution is definitely something that I would say that would help you in an IT career. And the next slide, please. And so I'll let you in a little secret of what it's like to be a developer. Some preconceptions about what people actually do. First of all, you're not just sitting on the keyboard, typing away, coding away all day. If you are, then you're probably really good at what you're doing. But most of the time in IT, you're given a problem or project, and you have to try and figure out what's the best way to approach solving it. So that's where the critical thinking comes in. And actually, the first step is defining the problem. That's something that BCCI was very adamant about. And they taught a lot of great frameworks. I think there was like the 5 whys. That's something that I took away. But it really gets you thinking about drilling down why you want to solve it. What's the minimum viable product? What do you want to deliver? What value do you want to give? And so you're thinking about best practices, code reusability, and security as well, because you want to provide something that's safe and secure and not going to break or leak data of a big company. And so that's what developers actually do. They're just thinking really hard, making sure that when they make an action, it's going to last for a long time. And the next slide, please. Okay, so a bit about some advice on what helped in my journey, getting my first job in IT and starting as well. I would definitely say public speaking is a big one for sure. I know most people are afraid of it, but it's definitely something that will bring you out of your shell. If you think about it, at work, you're going to have lots of meetings or you're going to have lots of demonstrations where you have to talk about what you've done or explain some project that you've worked on. So it helps that uni provide lots of projects for you to do your speeches and things like that too. But even outside of work, where you can do some competitions, case comps or hackathons and things like that, definitely beneficial. Another big one is getting a mentor. That's something that I did. I actually did the UTS Lucy mentoring program as well when I was there. And actually, I've turned around and become a mentor myself for the program as well. So mentors are great for, one, having someone to guide the path for you, show you all the tips and tricks or things not to do or to do. They'll offer great guidance. You don't have to do this alone. And of course, it's nice to have someone to keep you accountable. It's one thing to say that you'll do something, but then it's another thing to actually do it. So telling someone or having someone that will hold you accountable is another great way to get things done. And another thing is the Feynman technique. It's one where you try to teach a concept to someone else, because more often than not, you think you know a concept, and then when you start talking about it, you realize that you actually don't. So finding a buddy to explain to. It will help you find the gaps in your knowledge. Another one is for saying yes to new experiences. A lot of the time when you're starting out as a young adult in studying, you kind of tend to lean towards your own comfortable experiences. And I know I say that if you're not doing things that are uncomfortable, then you're not really growing. So try to find new things to do. And the last one is to stand out. So especially when it comes to, your internships, graduate roles, or jobs, you're going to be competing with a lot of other students who are trying to get the same role. So it helps to have a resume or a lineup of projects or things that you've done that stands out from other people. Because if you're doing something that 90% of students aren't doing, then you're more likely to stand out or get chosen for the role. Next slide, please. Okay, final words of wisdom. So if you've been listening, the one thing that I'm really big about is getting a mentor. Highly recommend it. The one thing to have a good mentoring relationship is to nurture it and to be the one to show initiative, because it's your future that you're in charge of it. No one else is gonna help you apply for something. You're the one who actually submits the button. You're the one who does the project or does your own thing. And the second one is to lead others. Find opportunities where you get to lead the team or even to teach someone, help someone out. Because a lot of companies are looking for people who have that team mindset or someone who's willing to uplift other engineers in the team. So keep that in mind. And the last thing I said was to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. When you're put into a new place, there's a lot of things that you don't know, like what to wear or who you can talk to in the office. So always, just get used to that feeling. But it's okay. You'll be okay. There's a lot of people that are with you that have been in your shoes. So yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. And if you're not doing things that are uncomfortable, then you're not growing. So that's not a good thing. So yeah, that's my advice. Good luck with your uni choices, and I hope that you'll have fun along the way. And I'll pass on to Pat.
Thank you very much, and thank you to all of our speakers. I hope all of you who are attending got something out of what the speakers were saying, got some information, whether that be a little bit of knowledge about the courses or even just some good insight into what you should pick, and a little bit of about your life skills that you might want to focus on once you reach uni. So I'm just going to talk really quickly about any sort of admission details, and things like ATAR adjustment points and all of that fun stuff. So very quickly, for entry into an IT degree, there is a bit of assumed knowledge of HSC mathematics, or anything that's equivalent. And they generally do assume that you should have Mathematics Extension 1, but in saying that, there's actually no formal prerequisites for entry to have that. So while UTS recommends having this mathematical foundation, and the same goes for Advanced English, technically, while it's beneficial, it's not necessary. A lot of students who don't have these subjects as their background foundations, they will instead apply for their degree, and then once they know that they're coming into their degree, they will apply for a bridging course. And that's essentially a small mini course that happens at around February, I believe. And it essentially runs them through those subjects. So that's available for UTS students. And essentially it works to either teach you these subjects, which you might not have done before. And I've also seen students doing it as like a refresher course, because obviously over the holiday period, you might have just forgotten everything that you learned in mathematics extension. So that's something that you can do. So I definitely recommend, for those of you who might be a bit concerned about your mathematics, or your advanced English, if you feel like you need a refresher, definitely look into bridging courses. I believe the application deadline hasn't actually been announced yet, but generally they do hold them in January and February. So keep an eye out on dates online. It shouldn't be too long before they announce those. Right, so Year 12 adjustment factors. These used to be called Year 12 bonus points, so some of you might still refer to them as bonus points. Basically, these are factors that are awarded towards a student's selection rank. So based on your performance in your school, and it's also relevant to the course that you have applied for. So your selection rank is taking into account your ATAR, and it will also automatically take into account your adjustment factors. So when you get your selection rank, that's already been calculated. Your adjustment points have already been included into that. So in saying this, there are a variety of reasons why you can get adjustment points. A couple are listed here in this gray box, so I'll quickly run through them. The engineering and IT questionnaire, so you can get up to 3 points for that, and I'll actually speak about this in the next slide really briefly. Another one is the good results in relevant HSC subjects. So this you can get up to 5 points, which is actually quite good. Special circumstances, so this is the educational access scheme, that's a whole 10 points. And obviously for any women who are wanting to study in engineering or IT, you'll automatically receive 10 adjustment points. And this is towards majority of the IT courses. There potentially are more. Yeah, I believe there are some more. So definitely I would recommend scanning this QR code and just having a brief glance. It always helps to know in advance an estimate as to how many points you might get. So this allows you to sort of predict what ATAR you might end up getting. And it just helps you sort of figure out exactly what ATAR you want to be aiming for and what courses you feel capable of getting into. Now, speaking on that engineering and IT questionnaire, so this is essentially a questionnaire that evaluates you based on your motivation, your interest in engineering and IT, and even just like your affinity for engineering and IT. So it is, after you scan this QR code, it will lead you to a page and you just download this document, and there's a bunch of questions on it. And essentially, if you answer them and submit it prior to the 9th of January, then you can potentially be granted up to 1 to 3 bonus points. So you could be granted 1, 2, or 3 bonus points, and that goes towards your selection rank, obviously. Obviously, there are some eligibility criteria, which I won't really go through because you can just find this on the website. But definitely recommend looking into this for everyone, because I mean, three adjustment factors or 3 bonus points don't just go walking along the street for free, you know. Definitely try and snag them if you can. Now, admission entry pathways. So obviously, sometimes things happen. You might not get the ATAR that you need to get into the course that you preferred. That's completely fine, and it happens to quite a lot of people. Luckily, universities, including UTS, have quite a few different pathways to get into the course that you would rather get into. I'll run through a couple of these pathways, but obviously there's more than just these 3, and I would highly recommend, if anyone is worried about this, definitely scan the QR code, have a read through, see what your options are. But just very briefly, one of the main pathways that people will take is by completing a diploma in IT, and this is just at the UTS college. So what this essentially allows a student to do is to complete a diploma for their first year, and then essentially they'll automatically get placed into their second year of their chosen bachelor degree at UTS. So it does essentially take into account what they've already learnt during their diploma, so they don't have to repeat subjects once they enter their bachelor degree, which is a really good one. Another option is completing an IT diploma from a TAFE, a private institution. There are quite a lot of other universities that you can also take a look into. Obviously, the one disadvantage with this is that when it comes to recognition of prior learning, it might be a bit more difficult to get as much recognition of prior learning as when in comparison to doing a diploma at UTS. So obviously, if you've completed a diploma at UTS, it's easier for us to see whether you've completed a subject before you can get granted this recognition of prior learning, because you're just moving from UTS to UTS. Obviously, if you've gone from TAFE or another university, the subjects are completely different. So you might not receive recognition of prior learning, or at the very least, you might receive half of what you're owed. And this is just because the subjects are different across different institutes, and we just can't compare them properly. So that's just one thing that you need to be aware of. And then this very similar sort of pathway is pick another course. So you can, if for example, you feel like you really want to get into Bachelor of AI, but you just can't seem to get into it, you can pick something that's very similar, another course at another university, another course at UTS even. Complete the first year is generally what we tell people, and then try again in the second year to get into your preferred course. And then obviously, again, you do receive recognition of prior learning, but again, it is a lot easier if you're going from UTS to UTS, and a little bit harder if you're going in from another university. But it is not impossible, and obviously a lot of people do it this way. Right, so we will now be looking over questions. So I know we've got a few questions that have already started popping up throughout this session. So while we wait for more people to put in questions, I'll also just remind everyone that we do have Info Day that is being held on the 18th of December. So that's just essentially a day for you to put in any last minute questions, get answers from course directors, from admissions teams and things like that from UTS. So definitely keep that in your calendar. It's an important day for quite a lot of students. Right, let's take a look at questions. Yes, okay, so the first one from Nicole. So what courses are offered in IT ethics? Luke, do you think you could take that one?
Yes, of course. So we have a number of components which form the ethics section of our degree. So our degrees, apart from the brand new one, which is about to be accredited, but otherwise all our degrees are accredited by the Australian Computing Society, which requires that there's an ethics component across all of them. This focuses on ethics within the IT industry, of course. So we have essentially 3 major touch points for every student that they have to go through in terms of ethics training. So we have a first year, a second year, and a third year component to that. It, again, is focused around professional ethics. If you want to take that a bit further, there are other options as well. So there are a couple of subjects across the university that are open. Every IT student, well, almost every IT student has to do at least one of what's called a transdisciplinary elective. A good number of those transdisciplinary electives are focused around various ethical concerns of technology in the world, whether that's environmental, industrial, how they fit within society. So there's a good chunk of sort of ethical conundrums in those about how you take these technologies and use them responsibly, I should say. So like I said, almost every student has to do at least one of those. It is possible to do more. And there's also a specific subject about ethics in artificial intelligence, so the ethics of data and AI, which is about what are the ethical issues related to AI broadly. So AI is a lot bigger than how the term is often used in the media. So AI covers almost any automatic computer system. So this is about what happens with all that data that we're putting in computer systems and feeding to these artificial intelligences that do stuff with it. How do we protect that? How do we make sure that that's safe? How do we make sure that's using it ethically? Those are some of the options, at least.
I think that covers the question. Thank you, Luke. The other question, I think you also mentioned that you might want to take that one, which is an attendee saying that they're working in sales currently. They would like to get a job as in software development. Is a Bachelor of Information Technology with a major in software development be a good option?
Yeah, so your primary option there is the Bachelor of Information Technology with the Enterprise Software Development major. That's your straightforward, I want to be a software developer option. Like I said, starting next year, if you want to spice that up with a little bit of the underlying theory of computer systems, the Bachelor of Computing Science with the Enterprise Software Development major is also a possibility. If you're interested in some of the more specific areas of technology, both of those degrees also, like I said, offer majors in cybersecurity, data analytics, artificial intelligence, which also, and even the interaction design might involve a significant amount of software development. So one thing I can recommend is, like Charo said, is start with those first year subjects, see what interests you, and then find the major that suits you as well. But as the question stands, the obvious option is the Bachelor of IT with the Enterprise Software Development major.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, like you mentioned, that's the beauty of IT. It is very interdisciplinary. So
Yeah,
even if
and with all of these programs, once you
Mm,
start it, they're all closely related. Like I said, they're all
mm,
built off the IT core. So if you start something and find it's not suiting you, you can switch. Like when you sort of sign on the dotted line at the start of the degree, you're not really sort of forced to complete that degree. You do it, you take it as it comes, and when you figure out what it is that you actually want to do, like hopefully you pick right the first time, and that's great. But if you don't, it's not the end of the world. We offer plenty of opportunities to move across to different components of the IT degree or other degrees completely.
mm. We've got another question. So an international student with really good marks, so 97% in mathematics, A plus in information technology, but they're not an English version student. So I assume basically they're asking, as an international student, whether they can apply for a bachelor's in IT in this February intake, which, from my understanding, there's definitely open for international students. So you shouldn't have a problem with the bachelor's in IT. The only thing I'll mention is that there is a different application process for international students. I will share a link for you just in a moment. And you just have a different process in submitting your application to get into this course. But yeah, no problems otherwise. I did have another question. And we get this one quite a lot, particularly from high school students who are just looking into IT. But a lot of the times we get students asking, what is the difference between just choosing to do a Bachelor of Artificial Intelligence and then doing like a Bachelor of IT, but then majoring in artificial intelligence or something along those lines? Like, is there much difference between those two?
So there's yes and no. Obviously, again, like I keep saying, there's everything's built around the IT core, so you get that foundational element across them. So no matter which one you choose, you're not trapped in anything in particular. What the Bachelor of Artificial Intelligence allows, because you're picking a specialized degree where you say at the start, I'm I'm definitely going all in on AI, is that you're removing a degree of flexibility to do even more study in artificial intelligence. So you're trading that flexibility for greater depth. Um, the contrast to that, of course, is the Bachelor of IT with, or the Bachelor of Computing Science, or the Bachelor of Computing Science Honours with one of the AI data analytics majors, where you still have that specialization in that field in artificial intelligence. You're still more than competent as a professional, completely employable at the end, but you've got another string to your bow, which is something else, whatever else it is you did in the degree. So the Bachelor of IT, like I said, incredibly flexible. It could be within reason almost anything else at the university. The Bachelor of Computing Science, you've got a deeper component of mathematics, the theory of how computers work, and if you do the 4 year honours program, research training on top of that. So again, you're trading that flexibility, but you're trading it in a slightly different way.
Yeah, I think that checks out. Yeah, thank you for answering that one. We do get that question a lot because I guess it makes sense, the major sounds very similar to the bachelor, so people end up questioning it.
And they are closely related, of course. It's more
mm.
a matter of how deep do you want to go
How
in any
exactly how
individual element.
specialized you want to be, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it. We've got a question from Harrison. So I'm a current uni student, unhappy with my bachelor. I've always wanted to get into cybersecurity due to interest and its demand. However, my bachelor is health science, so I have no knowledge in IT and no core unit to transfer over for recognition. So with no IT knowledge, how difficult will this be? And instead of just doing cybersecurity, is it maybe best to start with IT instead?
So if you know that cybersecurity you want to do and you're happy with sort of the all cybersecurity all the time focus of the Bachelor of Cybersecurity, just go for it. So with not just with the IT degrees, with the vast majority of degrees at bachelor's degrees, at least at UTS, because we're drawing students from across the country, overseas, we have very, very different levels of knowledge and competency in different discipline areas that students come in with. So we make no assumptions about what you know when you walk in the door here. So if we want you to know something, we will teach it to you. Obviously, some things help. So if you've done some maths before, if your communication skills are good, of course that helps. But we don't require you to do that. So if you come in and say, I know I love cybersecurity and I want to do it, just go for it. We'll teach you everything you need to know.
Yeah. And from my understanding, I believe the cybersecurity also does a core in IT, or at least
Yeah. So the Bachelor of Cybersecurity still has that IT core in it. All of the degrees to go. Sometimes they're under slightly different names, but it's all in there. It's actually part of our accreditation.
Yeah, that's right. So basically, you can expect almost all of the IT degrees to all have that same foundational level of IT subjects. So you're all essentially on the same level before you can then go a little bit deeper in cybersecurity, for example, or AI, or wherever you really want to go. But it
exactly.
really does allow you guys to sort of be on that same sort of level in terms of programming or just understanding the foundations. I will add that it's difficult to say, but with a bachelor in health science, it is not likely that you'll have any units transferred for recognition. I'm pretty sure that it would have to be something IT related to have units transferred. But in saying that, obviously there's nothing stopping you from applying for the degree and seeing if you can make it in. And you can even put in a request for recognition and see, it doesn't hurt. You don't have to pay to get your units recognized. So I would definitely just submit and see. You could get lucky and something might get granted to you. Do we have any last minute questions coming in? We'll give them a little bit of a wait. Any final remarks from any of our speakers? Or talked out? I think we're...
I mean, I remember when it was time to decide what degree to pick. I mean, I picked my degree and I didn't even end up with it. So, it's always winding parts. You won't even guess where you'll end up in the next 3 years. But yeah, as long as you learn from it and take away something. So, yeah.
True words. I think you'll find that in that first year, everyone is swapping their degrees, swapping their majors. It's just how it goes with university. You have a taste of your subjects, and then it just clicks what you want to do, and then you're off. So no more questions. All right, I guess that's a really good sign that we covered everything really well. Good job, team. So with that, I would really like to thank our speakers. So Luke, Charo, Francesca, thank you so much. And Matt in the background answering any questions as well. And obviously thank you to everyone who attended. We hope you got something out of this. And obviously I'll send the recorded video over so you can go through each slide step by step and take your notes if you need to. And a final reminder, if you need further information, we do have Info Day coming up, 18th of December. Otherwise, please refer to the screen. We've got Ask UTS, so you can contact them for any sort of questions. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank
you.
you
It's
all.
nice meeting you all.